I met a gypsy.
And with you, I had this idea that you were like a bit of a badass, like different too because of like, I guess, family heritage. Do you have like, what is your family background?
So, well, I grew up in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So my mom's side, I'm a quarter Mexican, quarter
Yeah.
Italian, which
Yeah.
comes from my dad's side, Tedesco, and then I'm not sure what the rest is. To be honest with you, I never got one of those tests done or anything, but yeah, I think a lot of it was just where I grew up. I grew up in Albuquerque, and I grew up on the rough side of Albuquerque, which is really bad.
I always got that vibe that you were the kind of kid that liked getting in trouble.
Yeah. I was definitely that kid.
Yeah.
Definitely that kid, and I grew up in the ghetto, basically. Small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in the ghetto, and lots of gang activity, and there was lots of trouble to get into. And when about middle school, I started getting into that trouble, started hanging out with those kids, and that was about the time I would say like I wasn't that into racing. I just wanted to hang out with my buddies, cause trouble.
Yeah. Because that shit's so fun
I
when
was
you're a kid.
Yeah, and I honestly I wanted to quit racing. I was just like, screw this. But I was too scared because my brother was so into it. My dad had so much invested in it. Obviously, we were racing across the country doing the whole deal. So for me, I was scared to tell him. And then, like I said, a few years went by, and my parents pulled me out of school. We got homeschooled, and that's kind of when it turned for me. I got away from all that crowd.
Yeah.
Started traveling around, taking racing a little serious.
Yeah. It's crazy when you're a kid. So I grew up in a pretty, it was like, it wasn't a ghetto when we first moved there, but then like we were there a couple of years, and then the town bought like a bunch of the blocks of land around and like built housing commission basically. Yeah. So like we were a fairly normal family, and then like right next to us was just full housing commission. But I was friends with they were the kids that I grew up with. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you don't know that much different. You just know like, oh, he's got a BMX bike. He likes making BMX jumps. And man, some of the kids that I hung around with, their parents were fucked up, dude. And it's like you don't know that as a kid.
It was crazy. Yeah, I thought it was like that everywhere until I started traveling around racing. I'm like, okay, there's someday I'm getting out of this place, And if I was never exposed to other places, I probably would have just stayed there, and who knows what would have ended up.
Yeah,
because it was bad. There was drive-by shootings on my street. It was pretty gnarly.
What was the gang activity there like? Was it because it's so close to the border? Well, is Albuquerque close to the border?
Not Albuquerque, so that's kind of in the center of the state.
Okay.
But
it is like a border.
I think a lot of
right?
the gang activity came like a lot of them were like LA gangs that kind of went out that way, from what I understand. I was a kid. I just knew the names of the gangs and
yeah.
But I was lucky to get out of there, to be honest with you. And I moved out to California when I was about 17. And I lived in Paris, California, basically in this, like, in the ghetto again. You've been to Paris, like dirt roads. So that's where I ended up. This guy was Gavin. He had a little track in his yard, and I didn't even know the guy when I showed up. It was a buddy of a buddy, came out, and stayed there for about a year, and man, roughed it. I'll be honest with you. Roughed it.
I feel like those times build so much character, and like if you compare to these days, like it's not anyone's fault, like you kind of want kids to have a good life, but it's like
for sure.
You have these kids that they're homeschooled from day one, they're facility kids, or it's like they're just living that life. Like there's not that much development in a sense, in like a real world sense. And I always got that vibe with you that like, fuck, I feel like Hot Sauce could probably steal a car if he needed to.
Yeah, it's just where I grew up. And, I mean, even once I turned professional, I signed my first deal with Plano Honda, which was a privateer Honda team out of Plano, Texas. And so I moved to Texas, was riding there, and I was staying with a buddy. But it became a point where like, dude, you can't stay with us anymore. And I was racing the outdoor series, and I didn't want to go back to New Mexico, so I ended up living in my truck for 2 months. And I was flying to the outdoors, and I would unload my bike. I parked at this lake, me and my other buddy, and I bought up a little roll-up mattress, put it in the back of my truck. I'd sleep in there, and then load my bike up, go riding, train, fly to the races on the weekend. So not typical.
That's gangster.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're just making shit
And
happen.
I could have went home to New Mexico, but I just felt like that was failure to me. I was like, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not going back there to all that trouble. I'm gonna chase my dream.
Yeah. Yeah, because there is like a burn the boats mentality.
Yeah.
That I think you kind of have to make it.
And I knew once I was all in on moto, that was my only option to do something great, I would say.
Yeah.
Or else I would just live, I guess, a normal life, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
But I knew I had some talent at it, and I don't know, but it was till later until I figured out how to use my talent, if that makes sense.
Oh man, for sure. And I think there is I was literally just talking to my wife about last night, and it's like I struggled to chill.
Yeah.
Because it's like I feel like I have potential, and I feel like I have these goals and like this thing that you're working towards, and it's like chilling doesn't really play into that. And it's like you take some downtime and it's in the back of your mind like, hey,
I wish I could chill, be honest with you. I wish I could shut it down. I see other people that can do that. I'm like, but me, I'm the same way. And that was a big struggle for me when I retired from racing, because when you're towards the end of the career, you're kind of tired of the pressure. You're tired of I mean, it's a grind, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking forward to retiring. You're like, man, it's gonna be great. I'm just gonna chill.
I'm gonna chill.
And it's cool for about 2 weeks, honestly, for me. Like, I was like, all right, this is cool. I was eating what I wanted to eat, drinking some beers, playing some golf, and then like after a while, you're like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
And even if you wake up and you want to go golfing or something, you call your buddy. Everybody's working.
Everyone's working, yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to golf by myself.
Yeah.
So I went through a period of time like I didn't know what to do, and I was miserable. And that was when I started, doing the testing gig, and that's kind of been what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.